Are you aware of USDA's SNAP contingency fund? Yes or no? Yes or no? Are you aware of it?
Sir, I'm aware of that issue.
Are you aware that USDA, despite bipartisan demands from Congress, is refusing to use that fund to help keep food assistance going to families after Saturday? Yes or no?
Senator, my understanding is that is now in litigation, and
Right, it's in litigation because the administration is refusing to use the funds, correct? It wouldn't be in litigation if the administration would just use the $5 billion that's available to use, correct? On top of the other funds that my colleague just referred to.
Sir, that's a claim in litigation, and because it's in litigation, it's not something that I can.
So it's in litigation because these are decisions that the Trump administration, that the USDA is making in real time. They're deciding to pit hungry people against sick people, and I think that's immoral. There's nothing legally stopping the administration from making emergency food assistance funds that they're just sitting on available for Georgia kids and families in November. But even as we debate what to do about these ACA subsidies, it is indisputable that the USDA under the Trump administration is choosing to pull hungry children into this fight. They're not just in this fight, they're being pulled into this fight, used as pawns for short-term political gain. I think is deeply immoral, and I think we can certainly do better than that.
Welcome home, y'all. This is Angela Rye with Native Land Pod. Just hearing from Senator Raphael Warnock and hearing this week about what is happening with Donald Trump's impoundments as it relates specifically with the SNAP program. But today, not one, but two federal courts have ruled that Donald J. Trump's administration must resume SNAP benefits. Terror, illegal. These are just two words used today to describe the irreparable harm caused by the Trump administration's failure to fund the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Of course, that is what most of us call food stamps. In Rhode Island, the court says the court is orally at this time ordering that USDA, that is the Department of Agriculture, must distribute the contingency money timely or as soon as possible for the November 1st payments to be made. That's from United States District Judge John J. McKinnor Jr. And after an hour-long emergency hearing just today, Judge McKinnor ruled that the suspension of SNAP funding is not only arbitrary, it is likely to cause irreparable harm. He said that the terror felt by Americans who are scrambling to meet their basic needs, to ensure that their needs are being met, are going to be left in harm's way. Judge McKinnor ordered the Trump administration to continue paying for the program using emergency funds. We call it a contingency fund, and that they have to come back to court on Monday and say how SNAP will be funded. In Boston, Massachusetts, the federal judge Indira Talwani said that she was going to reserve judgment on whether to issue a TRO, which is a temporary restraining order, and asked for the Trump administration to advise the court on whether they would authorize reduced SNAP benefits for November. Right now, there is a contingency fund in the United States Department of Agriculture that is to the tune of $6 billion. That does not cover the full amount at risk monthly. The SNAP program costs $8.2 billion and feeds more than 42 million Americans. So, of course, these two rulings are in response to filings on Tuesday by 25 plaintiffs, that is 22 attorneys general across the country, as well as governors in Kansas, in Kentucky, in Pennsylvania, and of course, the District of Columbia. They all came together to sue the United States Department of Agriculture, and they have been successful so far. What we need to understand, and I want to make sure that we take a moment just to commend the people across the country who have come together to fund and provide donations to food banks, from churches like New Birth. Shout out to my good brother and extended pastor, Jamal Bryant. And to folks like Leonard, Charlemagne McKelvey, who's one of the founders of Reason Choice, who's given multiple donations across various states, including South Carolina and New York, to ensure that Americans don't go hungry. When we look at that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, one of our most basic needs is to be able to eat. And that is something that this administration is denying the American people. And here's what I want you to know. Let's say that the Trump administration, when they go back to court on Monday, doesn't have a plan. They don't know how they're going to fund this, how they're going to make sure that the American people who provide the funding for this thing through their taxpayer dollars, if they come back and they don't have a plan and they say, you know what, Judge, actually, which they've done before, we're going to defy this court order. If they do that and they deny food to 42 million people, they deny the funding to 42 million Americans, this is tantamount to theft. This is theft from the American people. This is theft from taxpayers, and your taxpayer dollars, they are stealing from you. And that amounts to something we call an impoundment. So let's just talk briefly about impoundments, because I think we need to understand this. And for those who are watching on Instagram Live, I urge you to tune into our YouTube, because I'm going to cut this live off right now. What I want to say is that an impoundment is, it refers to the delay or withholding by the president of funds previously approved by Congress for certain fiscal or policy aims. Now, I want to be clear about this just for a moment. An impoundment is unlawful. An impoundment is unconstitutional. The Constitution of the United States of America in Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7 says, in pertinent part, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriations can only be made by Congress, y'all, made by law, and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. The power of the purse belongs to Congress, not to Donald Trump. Now, y'all know he's been stealing a long time. That's what the court cases say. Been stealing a long time. The reason why he's mad at Tish James right now, the Attorney General of New York, the reason why he has found a way to indict her off of nonsense is because she had the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to sue this man for fraud in New York. Still owes millions of dollars in fines. And we thought he was going to do this country different. Wake up call. He is not. And so also what you should know is in the Supreme Court, even case precedent is on the side of the American people, because in a case, Train versus City of New York, the Supreme Court unanimously held, not 6-3, not 5-4, not 7-2, unanimously held, the president does not have unilateral authority to impound funds. Again, Congress has the power of the purse. So what we've been saying all week, y'all, is that it's time to stop the real steal. Stop the real steal. There was no stolen election. The stealing is happening to taxpayers. The stealing is happening to the American people, some of whom have already gone hungry because funds had already run out. And I want to shout out again, not just the people who have contributed to food banks, contributed to funds, made extra food for their neighbors, but also for the good actors in states who have said, you know what, we're going to bridge this gap. Whatever gap that Donald Trump is creating by not coming to the table to negotiate with people of goodwill, we are going to make sure that folks who look like me and you, folks in our states, our citizens can eat. So I want to just shout them out. There's a whole CRS report. CRS is the Congressional Research Service that talks about the Impoundment Control Act of 1974. That is the precedent relied upon in Train versus City of New York, that Supreme Court case that I just referenced. What I want you to know is that stopping the real steal means that the Supreme Court has to follow precedent. Stopping the real steal means that that House Republicans, that Senate Republicans have to come to the table in earnest and talk about what this really is about. They want to deny the American people of healthcare subsidies that were covered in the Affordable Care Act, or as some of y'all like to call it, Obamacare. This is about ensuring that healthcare remains affordable to people. They want to take from those subsidies, right? They want to take from those subsidies and every other little place they can pull from to fund these tax breaks for people who are making a whole lot more money than you and me. I don't want to pay for that. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to pay for that. If I get a say in where my taxpayer dollars are going, I don't want to pay for that. I'd rather pay for healthcare being affordable to y'all, right? I want to make sure that we are giving people breaks who actually need relief, not just Donald Trump's golf buddies. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I'm here for. So I think that we need to be very clear about that. What is unfortunate is that the Republican Party writ large are using SNAP benefits and the lack thereof to starve our children, to starve our seniors, to starve our people, to starve our babies, to say we're going to leverage this, use them as a political football to delay and deny healthcare subsidies. Both are wrong. Both are foul. And that is what Senator Warnock was saying in his conversation in his back and forth in that Senate hearing. And so now I want to switch gears because we need to talk about how we protect our power, how we find our power, how we leverage our power in an environment that feels so politically toxic. We are grasping at straws every day, trying to figure out how we keep the lights on, how we feed our families, how we educate our children, and how we preserve a democracy that was just not only just fragile, y'all, but in so many ways broken. And so there are people of goodwill, as my good brother Vince would say, who are fighting the power every single day. In the state of California, as you all know, we have an election coming up. I voted yesterday with my mom and dad. Where's my sticker? Oh, it's on the back of my laptop. Let me show y'all. I voted yesterday. That's my sticker right there, if y'all can see it. And shout out to everybody running in King County and in Seattle, running for office, and also the ballot initiatives that we supported. And speaking of ballot initiatives, we have folks that are fighting the power in California right now, trying to meet folks where they are. There was a racist gerrymandering process that took place in Texas. And there were folks in the California legislature that said, not on our watch, bang the table like Iyanla Vanzant, y'all. And one of them is joining us today to talk about Proposition 50. It's a very important ballot measure that is on the ballot in California. This ballot measure was introduced to many of you by Governor Newsom, but Governor Newsom would not have been able to ensure that this ballot initiative made it onto the ballots of the folks throughout the state without the acting of the legislature. Proposition 50 authorizes temporary changes to congressional district maps in response to what Texas has done. And joining us today to talk about this very, very critical ballot initiative, right on the other side of this clip, I want you all to see this ad, is Assembly Member Tina McKinnor. But first, you're going to watch this ad.
California, with Prop 50, you have the power.
You have the power to stand up to Donald Trump.
You have the power to protect reproductive freedom.
You have the power to stop election rigging.
You have the power to give America a fair midterm.
You have the power to restore checks and balances.
You have the power to stand up for everyone being erased by this president.
For all of us in all 50 states.
Yes, on 50.
So shout out to the Black women who made it into the ad. Assembly member, I was looking for you too. And I also was looking for my big sister, Kamala Harris. But we're going to make sure we run a different ad, all right?
We have one, by the way. How you doing, Angela?
I'm good. Well, if you can, send it to us before we end the program.
Sorry, big fan. I just want to shout out to you before we even get started to lift you up for giving us real news and not all that fake stuff that's out there. So I commend you for your social activism. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, my sister. I'm also mutually supportive. Thank you for fighting the good fight. We always talk about the Congressional Black Caucus as being the conscience of the Congress. Well, there are some bold, tremendous, beautiful Black legislators in the California State Assembly who are fighting the good fight every day, both helping to ensure that we feel and see our power at the ballot box with Prop 50, but also even the packages that some of the bills were passed, but some of them weren't. Most recently, we'll talk about it a lot more. I'll listen. We'll talk about it on the other side of this election, but I know you got thoughts. You were one of the authors of the bill, and I really, really respected the bill that you introduced. So if there's anything I can do on the other side of this to make sure that that gets the uplift it needs for next session, you can count me in, my sister.
Thank you, because it's extremely important. If we're starting with reparations, which I'd love to do that, we have to make sure that we separate reparations from Prop 50. Let's just start there. I want to make sure.
They're not even the same. It's not even the same people who had to consider it.
No. We want to make sure that we don't mix it up. Even though you guys see Gavin Newsom out there talking, he's the governor. That's what he's supposed to do. He's doing his job. He's supposed to defend California. This is what the Democratic governor should be doing. They should be protecting democracy, talking shit to Trump. I can say shit.
You can say whatever you want.
Talking shit to Trump. I love the way he talks shit to Trump. Talking shit to Trump, protecting democracy. But this Prop 50 doesn't belong to him. It belongs to us.
Yes.
So I'm going to start there because I want to make sure. The Prop 50 does not belong to Gavin Newsom, y'all. It belongs to us. He's the spokesperson because he's the governor and he's doing his job. His job is to protect democracy, protect California. And I love the way he's talking shit to Donald Trump.
And I want to just flag for you really quick, just a technical matter. I want to make sure we are an emotive people. So Black people, we use our hands when we talk. Your screen is moving a little bit. I want it to stay as stationary as possible so they can hear you and see you, my sister. But this is great. Now, here's the next thing that I want to talk about. I think that people probably are resenting a little bit how much we are having to output in this moment. There are those of us like me and you. I know we went to the ballot box. We exercised our franchise. We did the right thing. We told everybody so. We told everybody what was coming in Project 2025. We told people that there was no competition in qualification, style, substance, or anything else between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And yet people still got it wrong. Those same people got the nerve to be tired talking about they don't want to go back. Well, some of y'all didn't go back. And if you did go, you voted wrong. Not that many in our community, but we do have some folks. Talk about why it is so important for people to pay attention to this particular election. Again, for those of you who don't understand what the assembly member was saying, Gavin Newsom is not on the ballot. This is not a midterm election. This is an election related to Proposition 50 to solve for harms that were caused in other states, namely Texas. There are some other harms that are coming. So this is to prevent some of those harms. So we have representation throughout the country, even if it comes from other parts of the world. Like, for example, Assembly member, you'll appreciate this. Washington State just got our first Black member of Congress a few sessions ago, right? Just a few sessions ago. So who I went to were people outside of our state, particularly on issues that matter to the Black community. So this is one of those things where it's saying we're going to have to maybe go outside of Texas, maybe go outside of Ohio, maybe go outside of Missouri or Indiana. And I don't wish for any of our members to lose their seats. But if that's what they do, then we need some backup in other parts of the country. That's not uncanny to Black people. I think that's really strange for white people to have to process, that they may have to get support from other parts of the country. You all do that too, because you're representing the needs of Black constituents throughout the state of California. So can you talk a little bit about that role that you play that isn't just unique to your district, but really is representing our interests throughout the state?
Absolutely. We have 120 members in the state assembly and Senate. 12 African-American people represent Black people across the state. So it's 12 of us, so we have 10%. So of course, we represent all the Black folks across the state. We make sure that we do that well too, by the way. We're a pretty feisty group. Look, what happened in this was, you all know Donald Trump called Texas and said, give me 5 seats, I deserve it. In California, we heard it, and our governor jumped right on it. And he said, you bring the fight to California, we bring it back to you. And so we went in and we passed 3 bills. The first bill is a constitutional bill to allow us, the legislature, to draw maps, to redraw the maps, because we have an independent redistricting commission that comes in every 10 years and draw the maps. So we take that and the legislature are going to draw them. That was the first bill. The second bill actually accepts the maps that we drew. And the third bill pays for this special election. The special election is going to cost us about $500 million. I always forget that zero.
That I would want to forget it too. That's expensive.
It's expensive, but we were more afraid not to spend the money than to give up the money because Trump is so damn dangerous. You just talked about he's pitting hunger against healthcare. Who does that?
Who does that?
A crazy man. And so we voted on it. And unlike Texas just redrew the maps. Unlike Texas, we believe in a democracy. So we're taking it back to the voters and we're asking the voters permission to draw the maps. But what this does is when Texas put in those 5 Republican seats, California is going to put in 5 Democratic seats. We drew those lines, but we drew in Democrats. There are only 9 Republican seats in California. I love living in California. 5 Republican congressional seats, and because they found picked with us, we're going to only leave them with 4. And so this is about making sure that we have an even playing field for the midterms. Like Angela said, the midterms, Congress runs every 2 years. The midterms is where all the financial stuff comes through. Got to come through Congress. It's not through the president. Plus, this U.S. American experiment is failing. Donald Trump has the presidency, the Supreme Court most of the time, and the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. We have to ensure that we get these midterms back, that we get Congress back so we can stop some of these nonsense. And when you think about the nonsense, I'm going to stop because I could go on and on.
No, I have 2 questions for you. The first is where you kind of ended. And it's around, you're going to only leave the Republican Party with 4 in California. My question is, given the fact that Texas is the beginning, that's not the end. And I'm not great at math. I went to law school to avoid it at all costs, but I could do basic arithmetic. Why leave them with any? If you know that there are other states coming and they control most of the legislatures throughout the country, why leave them with any? What's the rationale for that?
Well, we went to the voters and we really did. We just wanted to do 5 because we thought that if we just took over, California is not as devious as Texas. So we thought if we just took over the whole state, that might not be as fair because we do have Republicans that live in the state.
Y'all not playing with fair. Y'all are playing with fascists.
The problem sometimes is we try to be too fair. And
I agree. We in a war, sis. Like, and so I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm just like, I am blown away. And I'm gonna own this too. So I'm not shooting at just our folks. I'm owning this too. You know how you grew up professionally in a thing, right? And it's like, okay, I know this game. I know what it is. I can advise anybody, eyes closed, blindfolded, hands tied behind my back, one leg. I'm ready. But they changed the entire rules of the game. The rules of engagement have shifted. And so what is blowing my mind, and I have to reset every day too, is how resistant we are to what has occurred. Like the fact that this is a fascist regime. We are living under an authoritarian government who readily defies court orders. And we're like, oh, well, let me just be fair because these other, you might have a Republican friend that you sit down, go to the movies, eat some Cheez-Its with or whatever. But like, they are still empowering and endorsing this fascism. And so there has to be a consequence somewhere, especially if the math doesn't math. So hypothetical, let's say that you realize tomorrow or election day, right? The day everybody's voting yes on Prop 50, that they are coming for more seats than you thought. Is there a mechanism to change it so that you eliminate all 9? Not just, there's not a mechanism. You stuck.
There's not a mechanism. We drew the maps. They're voting on the maps on Tuesday. So we drew the maps and we voted on the maps, but we know that we also have New York and Chicago and a few other blue states that we've talked to that are also ready to pull some of these triggers if we need it.
You hope. And then so you have 2 others that are relying on whether or not their governors are Democratic on Tuesday. That's New Jersey and Virginia in particular. Let me ask you this, because you brought up this independent redistricting thing. And when you talk to most Black civil rights orgs, this is the thing that they are blown away by. Did we do right by establishing these independent redistricting commissions in states? Was that the right thing to do?
I think it was. It gave us seats here in California. We picked up seats in places that we never served before. We have a lot of firsts in different areas because of the independent redistricting commission, because it puts 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, 5 independents. That way, and they choose them with people who haven't really been involved in politics that much. That way they're coming in and they're listening to all the testimony with an open mind instead of a bipartisan mind. And I think they did really well in California with the maps. And I think they should do that across the country, because if they did, we wouldn't have this thing that Donald Trump just did and said, just give me seats. Because that's not the way to do it.
That's you being hoping on a wing and a prayer that all the rest of the states would be in integrity, as it sounds like you all have been in the process. The other thing is, a lot of these independent redistricting commissions end up eliminating majority Black districts, majority minority districts. I hate to say majority. I'll say majority people of color districts. That's another thing that we have to consider. But what I do know, Assembly Member, is you are working hard on this initiative. Even when I talked to you for the first time last week, your voice was gone. So I know you're doing the work of the people. I'm not going to keep you, but I do want to just offer you an opportunity to just close out. If you were given your closing request or demand of the people to vote yes on Prop 50, what would you say?
Well, I would tell our people that, listen, we must do this. Trump is trying to do a couple of things that just affects us, right? Because I know people talk about affecting a lot of us, but I'm just going to talk about Black people. First thing, he's trying to erase our history. We just got museums. He's trying to go in and wipe our history out like it never happened. Dude, slavery happened. Get over it. Guess how I feel? The Black jobs. You talk about Black jobs, those federal jobs that people got, all those people got laid off. A lot of them were Black women, because Black women in the 70s and 80s couldn't get big jobs in corporate America. It was only a few of us. So we went to the government. I work for the government as well. We went to the government, we worked. And so those folks are laid off. When you look at the student loans, our people we have a house, some savings, and a job. A lot of us don't have enough money to pay for our kids' student loans. We took out student loans. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were forgiving those student loans left and right. They wasn't pressing us to pay them because they know how hard it is. Not Trump. Right now, he came in. He's like, if you don't pay these student loans, we're going to take your house and your car. It's just so many things that pertain to us. My brother's keeper. He'll never invest in that. You know, how they suspend Black children. He'll never invest in that. It's so many things we're counting on. Hunger versus healthcare. That's a thing that affects Black people. So vote yes on Prop 50 on Tuesday, on the 4th. Please do it. Look, all of our lives depends on it. And California is carrying this mantle, because we know so goes California, so goes the rest of the country. And I think once we get past this part, we will win in 2026.
I love it. Assembly Member Tina McKinnor, she's going to come back and talk to us about some of the bills she has in mind and how the rest of the country can get behind what California is doing, laying a blueprint, no pun intended. And of course, we're telling folks to vote yes on Prop 50. Thank you for all your work. I look forward to talking to you again, sis.
Thank you, Angela. And I want to come back and talk about reparations a little later.
You got it. Right after, on November 5th, we're going to come back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye. Next joining us is someone, she is my big sister, y'all. She has a heart for the people. She lives every single day lifting up Black people, Black women, Black children, doing the work of the Lord through Black Women's Roundtable, the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. She recently celebrated 30 years with this tremendous organization. I missed it, because if there's anything that I ever want to do, it is to celebrate my dear sister friend, Melanie Campbell, who joins us now.
Hi,
sister.
Hello.
How are you feeling, sis?
I'm getting a little cold, but other than that, I'm great. Kind of paying attention to what's happening with SNAP and the courts, and making sure that we're out here supporting our people, because we're going to feed our people no matter what.
No matter what.
We're doing it over there with Tony Lee and others, and some of our state leaders are doing it on the ground, and some of these mayors are stepping up. And we're going to still also fight for healthcare, because it's not a choice, either or, which is what they're trying to play out to be. But, feeling good. Good to see you. Good to be in community with you. I know you weren't there physically, but you were there with me, girl. You
Oh,
always been.
I was, and I hope you saw the love. There's so many people that love that video and love you. So I hope you feel
Yeah,
poured into.
I'm treasuring it. I had some family stuff I had to deal with right after, but I've just been able to go back and listen, and um, it's great to feel the love, and so and I don't take it for granted.
Well, I know you don't, and I want to just ask you, Mel. Let me ask you this: has there ever been a time in your life that you can remember where circumstances in this country have been this dire? And if so, what year was that?
No, not in my lifetime.
That's the same thing my dad says, and he older than us, girl.
Compares in my lifetime. Now, my parents, my grand, of course, for sure, right? But no, not the level of evil, in my opinion. It's very, very much. I feel there's spiritual warfare as well as political, and that you have people who have sold their soul for power.
When you say spiritual warfare, it's funny because my dad would agree with you, and he's a lot older. He's no shade daddy, but he's 19. He's born in 1942, and he said never in his Black life has he seen anything this bad,
Yeah.
and this blatant. And so I guess my point is, I know that we normally function as a village. We have pulled from each other and pulled from our community at this time to really find encouragement. What is giving you hope? What's giving you the desire to keep fighting? Because the one thing I can tell everybody at home, Mel is not giving up. She's doubled down. She's like, okay, I'm mad, but I'm about to turn all this anger into progress for my people. So I want to know what's driving you.
Well, because my faith, one, but two, the village. We are a village, and as much as I've not experienced this, and we in this the rapid way it's happened over the last now 10 months, going on 11 months. I also know history, and that we know enough to know that we have overcome so much as a people, and and that has not changed. It's in our DNA to fight for our freedom, right? That's not a cliche, it's real. And so they can do whatever, and when you do the others, it will come back, right? And we're not going no doggone well. It's like you all can think you live in some fantasy about what you're going to put Black people back to, and even to your own demise. But we have to know and really pour into this next generation who really have been out here fighting the fight, and know that we have to also find ways to protect ourselves, right? To protect our peace, if you will. But we're going to win, because evil never wins, right? These folks that are out here, I've never seen a dictator win at the end of the day, right? And it's what this man thinks he wants to be. In this country, and I do believe that folks voted the way they voted last year because they thought that for whatever reason they wanted to blame all of their problems on Black people. But at the end of the day, they're feeling it too. White folks, specifically, who I'm talking about. Not all white people, but quite a few of them did. Voted for a racist, sexist, rapist, thief over an exceptionally qualified Black woman. And they had done it against a white woman, for whatever reason in this country. But we're not going nowhere, Angela, and we're going to have to fight and protect ourselves. And I do worry, because this is a lawless administration, and then having a Congress that's led by weak people.
I started the show today, Mel, talking about, excuse me, how this judge ruled today in this was in the Rhode Island case, that the administration is moving with terror and lawlessness.
Right.
It is both unlawful and it is terrorism on people.
Right.
And I really think it's important for us to double down on that framing, because one, it's accurate, and two, we need to not let our consciences be seared with a hot iron. We need to be clear about what is happening and why this is so problematic, and why nobody did anything wrong. These are programs that our taxpayer dollars fund, and that we invest in because we want the best for people. So I think what's mind blowing to me, because you talked about spiritual warfare earlier, and I want you to get into that before we leave, but it's spiritual warfare with people who are regularly slinging the good book like they are the poster children for Christianity. Yet it feels like they're representing the values of something that is in stark contrast with the Bible we read, you know? So I want to hear from you on why this feels like spiritual warfare, and why when you check in spiritually with yourself, why you're like, oh, I know it's spiritual warfare because XYZ, for those at home who are feeling kind of torn about that.
Well, say I'm not a preacher, but I used to be married to one, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Mel, I never. Come on, First Lady. I did not know that.
The First Lady. No. But anyway, but when you think about, and I was listening to Reverend Warnock and listening to Jamal and my pastor and others and my sister who's a retired minister, so it's simple. What you do to the least of these, you've done it unto me. So you're not going to feed people. You're going to take away people's ability to have health care. You're going to take away people's right to have a quality life. For what? At the end of the day, right? So at the end of the day, I believe that what you do to the least of these, you've done unto me. And so that's the foundation of it. And you talking about not feeding people. Seriously? Right. And then playing games out here. And so, in the social media world, trying to make this about Black women and all these kinds of things that they're doing. But at the end of the day, if folks don't get the ability to feed their children, that has no color. That has to do with your lot in life. And so that part of it to me is probably the most corrupt. And the second being about dealing with healthcare. And so it's really, you have the ability to really, you have to have something very, very deeply disturbing about your soul to be able to do some of the things that they're doing. On top of the way the violence and the cruelty, and say, well, people say cruelty is the point, right? And if you want to be a dictator, and one of the things that, and this is no shade on no kings, people see the monarchy and they don't get that. No. We're talking about no dictator, right? That's what we're talking about. Like this country is really, we might as well say we're living in one because the law is not being followed. It's going to be interesting to see, even with the court deciding a couple of hours ago that they have to provide SNAP benefits. Will they do it?
Yeah.
Will they hit the button to do it? Right? Or will the Supreme Court slap that back down and give this man one more ounce of illegal power, in my opinion? And so that's the other part of it too. You have all these different levers, but again, I hold on to the faith to know that the Bible was used to say slavery was okay. Right?
Talk about it.
So that history is still there, and being able to know that when I think about what I'm seeing in the faith community, that folks, especially in the Black church, are stepping up, and that's part of learning from the history. Like we have to fill in the gap. We have to do that to make sure that our people at least have those basic needs while we fight against and create what this new thing looks like. Because it won't be the same.
Yeah.
It won't be the same. There's no way, because it was a lot of things that we now know that require there to be some real changes to what, quote unquote, this democracy ought to be, to try to make sure that the children and children's children that are coming behind us will have a better shot at this quote unquote democracy we live in.
Absolutely. Well, Mel, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for the work you continue to do, for the encouragement that you offer, both in word, in deed, and all of the things that you do. I just want you to know I'm definitely praying for you, sis, and for the survival and hopefully the thriving of this country and all the people who absolutely deserve their right to attain and achieve the American dream. But I want you to know that in an era where they're trying to take our votes away, I am certainly grateful for the clarion calls you've issued, the flags that you've dropped. I want you to know that even in the moments where you haven't felt heard or seen, that you are. Congrats on 30 years. I pray for 30 more, but I also pray for ease in your work, because I know that you've had to fight a lot as a Black woman to be able to hold the same platforms that your male counterparts have had with ease. I pray that people will not only see you, but give you your just due. Because that's what equity would do. And that's the least of what is required in this moment. But thank you, sis, for all you do, and know you forever have a sister soldier in me.
Yes. Well, that was what I was going to say. It's like, I know we're in good hands. I love what you and your colleagues are doing and speaking to and I'm, like I said, a good leader knows how to follow. And I'll follow you, my sister, like we did before, because that's what it takes. It's put, and I do believe, as you well know, intergenerational leadership, but also being able to shift when needed. And that's what we have to do, because, we all get tired and weary, right? In well-doing, but it's gonna be all right. And we're not gonna let the devil steal our joy, and we're not gonna let these crazy folks do that. And we have to also celebrate. So I think I was able to allow myself to celebrate, which was hard, but it was fun. And then the thoughts that have been, including you sharing that, I would take that with me to keep going and shifting to do things. 30 more years will look a little different than the last 30. It's got to work that out.
Yeah, well, we got your back, Mel. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Melanie Campbell, y'all. Make sure you follow her at Coalition Builder on Instagram. Definitely make sure you check out NCBCP, which is the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, and Black Women's Roundtable, where every Black woman I know, if she's on the right side of history and in building a good legacy, has a seat at Melanie Campbell's table. So thank you, sis.
Love you. Appreciate it.
Love you. Y'all, as Mel just said, we are not going to let the devil steal our joy, but the devil also will not steal our votes, our health care, or our neighbors' SNAP benefits, because that is our most reasonable service. So as you all go out today, for those of you who will celebrate Halloween to trick or treat, do not fall for this trick bag that this man at the top of this country is trying to give us. Make sure that you are staying informed. I know there's a lot of information coming at you every single day. At Native Land Pod, we want to make sure that we're giving you access in real time to the information as it comes in. I'm trying to work really diligently to get you all of that information on Tuesday. As you all know, this is our makeup day. Tuesday, we had some technical issues, and you didn't get to hear from the likes of Adelita Grijalva, who is the daughter of Raul Grijalva, the congressman who passed. May God rest his soul. I admired him deeply. I'm looking forward to having that conversation. We're going to keep talking about Prop 50. And y'all, some breaking news on Tuesday. If you are in Seattle, please make sure you join me at Benaroya Hall, where I will be moderating an unfiltered, completely real, and amazingly authentic conversation on election night after the polls have closed with Kamala Harris, our forever Madam Vice President. I will be talking to her about her book. I'll be talking to her about the path forward. Make sure you join us at Benaroya Hall in Seattle, Washington. If y'all not here, fly up if you can. Why not? But make sure you check us out. I'm really looking forward to that conversation with my big sister, fellow October baby, and definitely feeding her, giving her some good old Seattle food. So I'm looking forward to seeing y'all there on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Again at Benaroya Hall. And actually, I just lied to y'all, because you can drop your ballots off until 8 p.m., but drop them off a little early and come see us. And then lastly, make sure, if you have not, that you like and subscribe to this podcast, that you comment, let us know what you think. It's been a little contentious lately. I think some of that is by design. Sometimes when you're starting to break through, you got haters. And I think there are also times where people just blatantly misunderstand. And I think there are other times where people just blatantly disagree. We disagree on the podcast every single Wednesday when we record. It drops on Thursdays. SoloPods drop on Tuesday. I heard Bakari and Andrew got it's not really a solo pod, it's a bipod. That's cute. We have a quad pod, a solo pod, a bipod. These guys sat down and had a conversation. They hogging up a lot of airtime too. So if y'all watched the episode we dropped earlier today, they talked a lot but it was a really incredible conversation. Their conversation in Houston that we recorded on Wednesday night, y'all, I'm serious, is actually one of my favorite Native Land podcast episodes ever. So please make sure you check that out. I have talked a lot longer than I intended. It is a Friday night. Somebody just got paid, and hopefully everybody will get fed now that these judges have fallen on the right side of the truth and the law. No impoundments. Tell them to stop the real steal. Until next time, I will see y'all on Tuesday. Take care.